Hey guys, welcome to the Good Luck Club. I'm just kidding. It's April Fool's. It's still the Bad Luck Club. So I wanted to talk today about a series I wanted to start here where I compare board games with their roll and write re-implementations. I started this on Instagram a bit ago, but I was quickly reaching the character limits and finding that I couldn't talk as much about the games as I wanted to. I also had to make two separate posts for the board game and the roll and write, and I wanted it to be more of a joint thing, so I figured talking about both games in one video and talking as much as I wanted and as quickly as I wanted was a lot easier for me than typing out these posts. I think my biggest goal in creating these videos is to just kind of give you an idea of the difference between the game and the roll and write so you can make a better decision as to what game is going to be better for you. I know that not every game is for every person, so this is just kind of taking away the guesswork so you don't have to go out and buy both copies of the game. I've already done that for you because I'm a crazy person with a board game addiction and I don't want to pass it along to you. So you can watch these videos and make wise choices that benefit your spending habits a bit better than my own. So while I struggled a bit to find the game that I wanted to start this series with, I decided to go with the one that I think is what made me decide to do this series in the first place, which is Troyes. Yes, I had to look up how to pronounce that, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Troyes is a dice worker placement where you start the game by drafting the different dice that you want, and it is a snake order draft, so it'll go from first to last and then last back to first. You can choose different dice that are red for military, white for religious, and yellow for just peasants and artists of the town. You start the round by having event cards be played where you are getting attacked by black dice, and you are using the dice that you have in the game to fend off those attacks. Your red military dice are worth double, so you can use a 2 to defeat a 4 black die. The white dice will let you help construct the cathedral, which you need to help at every level of the cathedral in order to score points. Yellow dice will give you some more money to spend, which will help get your workers out on the board. And the red dice, like I said, are good for military, and they will help get rid of those event cards, because if you do not get rid of those event cards, then the amount of black dice you have to roll at the start of every round is just going to build and add up. In every one of the 4 rounds, a new activity card is going to be drawn for each of the red, white, and yellow dice. There's opportunities for you to put one of your little worker meeples there, and if you're there at the end of the game, you will score victory points just for having presence on that card. These activity cards will allow you to use your dice in even more ways than just the base ways of the game. The unique thing about this is a lot of the actions have a minimum amount that you have to spend in pips on the die in order to get that action. There may be a card that says if you have a yellow dice with at least 2 pips, then you'll get 2 coins. However, you are allowed to allocate several dice to this action at once. So if I have dice that add up to 16 and then I divide that by the 2 pips that are required, that means I can take that action 8 times and get 2 coins 8 times, which equals 16 coins. So that's like a super great way to get some money in this game, which again will help you unlock your meeples and get them out, which will allow you to get more dice. It allows you to place more of those meeples on these activity cards, which will unlock more dice features for you. So there's kind of like a 2-part worker placement system in this game. The dice you'll be using and recalling back at the end of every round, whereas the meeples are going to stay out on the board and they're going to boost your actions throughout the game. One of my favorite parts of Troyes is actually the end game scoring. There's a lot of like classic end game scoring in there where, like I said, the meeples that you're putting out on the cards are going to have different values on them, which are worth points. Anything that you contributed to these event cards that didn't get wiped away because they weren't completed, that'll still give you some points for your efforts that you put in during the game. But my favorite part is at the beginning of the game, everybody gets assigned one of 6 different end game scoring cards. If it's a 4-player game, there will be at most 4 out, so there's 2 that aren't in the game, and you do not see which 2 are discarded from the game. So because of that, everyone has a objective that they're working towards that's going to have some sort of special end game scoring. However, everyone's only aware of one of those 4 cards, but at the end of the game, everyone will reveal the cards and everyone scores all of the end game scoring, regardless of whether or not you had that card face down in front of you. So it's kind of fun in that you get to watch like what other people are doing. Like it might be points for how many coins you have left over. So just watching to see if somebody seems to be like hoarding coins and you're like, they might have that card that scores you a bunch of points if you have leftover coins. I want to hoard coins too, so I can also score more points. And then you reveal the cards and it turns out that person just really wanted money and that was not one of the end game scoring conditions at all. So it's kind of interesting to like watch what other people are doing and trying to guess what the end game scoring could be. You're allowed to know what all of the cards are, just not the 2 that are removed from the game. So just kind of trying to remember that and keep it in mind, and also not make it super obvious what you're working towards so other players might not know, or making a plan to like quick boost that at the end. But yeah, I think that that's a pretty unique, fun way to add some endgame scoring that everyone gets, but still has a bit of mystery to it. In Trois Dice, while the theme is similar, it does take place in a much shorter period of time. In Trois, you're working over 400 years, with each round being 100 years. In Trois Dice, you're working over 8 days, and that is 8 rounds in the game. You start each round by rolling 4 dice and 4 dice. You start each round by rolling 4 dice, and there's going to be 1 black die, which causes destruction later in the game, and 3 clear dice, which will take on the color of the tile that it's placed on top of. When drafting the dice, they're all going to do different things. If you are taking the red die, you can use them to build support over all of the layers of your cathedral. If you're not using the red die to build a fortress and then a black die lands on a yellow 3, then everything in that yellow 3 section is going to get crossed off unless you've already activated it. So that is like a quick way to lose half of your board if you don't start building fortresses at the start of the game. However, if a die value is higher up, it's going to cost you gold or resources to pay to use that die, which makes it challenging as the game goes on, because you're going to start needing your dice to gain more resources so that you can use those resources to perform different dice mitigation. While you're trying to gain money to get other dice, parts of your building might get knocked out, and that's just part of the game, and you have to be okay and zen with that because it is what it is, really. The actions of Trois Dice are all done simultaneously, which I love. All players will be drafting and filling in their sheets at the same time. The game is a little bit difficult to learn, but once you start playing, it's super easy. And my favorite part is it's also available on BGA, so it's pretty quick to pick up on there, and the game plays so fast, which is amazing. Trois on BGA is not as intuitive as Trois Dice, so there is a bit of like a learning curve in figuring out like what to click and what resources you're using and spending, and it does get a little confusing for an already confusing game. I would say my biggest problem with Trois Dice is it doesn't have the combos that I love and look for in a roll and write. There are some combos as you get more workers in your town that let you build more buildings. However, I feel like getting those workers is a lot more difficult than it should be, or like you might be getting a lot of workers of one color and not of the others, and you need at least 6 of each, I think, in order to get the building built. There are different milestones that you need to reach for each one, and it gets so difficult I don't really even know how you could get to the end. Like, there's definitely ways to do it if you're not building out your fortresses, but if you're not building your fortresses, then you're just getting pummeled, and I don't know how you're getting stuff done anyway because half of your board will be crossed off. So I haven't fully figured that one out. I've been running through it a lot on BGA. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I think they both have like a time and a place. So it's really, I think, up to you what would work best for you. Again, Trois Dice is way more accessible. However, Trois is an interesting challenge for more seasoned gamers, I think. If I had to pick one, I would probably choose I would choose, if playing online, Twa Dice. I think it's a better experience than Twa on BGA. However, if I was playing in person, I would probably prefer Twa, just because I think it is fun and thinky, and the game can kind of be as short or as long as you want it to be, depending on how much time you spend thinking and planning your actions and everyone else at the table. But yeah, thank you for bearing with me as I talked about the first game in this series. There's a lot more to come. If you can look at the shelf behind me, I do have a lot of roll and writes here. So that'll kind of give you an idea of some of the ones I've planned out. This is not all of them by any means, so don't let this fool you. There are so many to come. If there is one that you're super interested in, let me know in the comments and I will try to prioritize that. But yeah, I have a lot to talk about, so let's go, I guess.